Hello and welcome to another edition of the How to Grow Your E-commerce Business podcast. I'm here with Shane Barker from Tracefuse, and we're going to talk about his business. Shane, you know more about it than me, so would you like to tell us about Tracefuse?
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having us today or having me today. I appreciate it. So Tracefuse is a company that we started just about 5 years ago. First 2 years was R&D, us just trying to, figure out how to file cases with Amazon and remove reviews. So really the premise of what we do is we help Amazon sellers remove negative reviews. And so when I say negative reviews, that's not just any and all negative reviews. Those are going to be reviews that violate Amazon's own rules or their own guidelines. So somebody mentions a competitor, cusses, mentions pricing, anything FBA related. If Amazon shipped out and it was late, used or damaged, there was problems there. And then guess what? The people write a review against the product and say it was 2 weeks late. And well, great. That's more of an FBA Amazon issue, not a product problem.
Just we're talking about product reviews here, not seller reviews.
That's exactly it. Yeah. So it's going to be product reviews. Anything that happened, any products that you sell on Amazon and any kind of reviews you get, any critical reviews, which are 1, 2s, and 3s.
So does it have to? So I'm just trying to, because I have spent some time on product reviews on Amazon. There's a product, the B2B section on the Amazon Seller Central. There's a section about reviews there. Is there a section, if you were to do it manually, is there a way of flagging it, or does it normally go through the Amazon Seller Support?
Yeah, so you can report. I mean, that's what they say. The first step is to click the report button, right? If you feel like there's something that violates Amazon's guidelines, then the next thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to file a case, right? And you can do that through Seller Central. You can do Brand Registry, Vendor Central. We do escalation emails to Amazon. We do emails directly to Amazon. Those are the main ways that we either file cases or get in contact with Amazon about reviews that need to be removed.
So how did you get the idea for this? What inspired you to start?
Yeah, great question. So the way that we came up with the idea was I had some friends of mine that were in the Amazon space and I say friends of mine, they were clients, but they always kind of become friends over time. And I asked them, what is your biggest pain point with Amazon, right? Like, what is the thing that causes you the most stress? And they said, well, really reviews. And so that was intriguing to me. And I was somewhat familiar with the Amazon space, not an expert by any means, and just said, hey, well, let's look into this and see if this is something that we can do. I was a little overly confident, thought that we could probably crack the code in a few weeks, a few months. I was quickly humbled very, very quickly. And it took about 2 years for us to figure out exactly how to file cases, which departments, now, I mean, we've gotten amazing. Now we can look at a review and know where to file, the terminology to use in the case filing, and also the time to wait to let Amazon to respond to the reviews. That's also, or the cases, that's also a really big thing that I think a lot of people miss out on, because Amazon has a certain timeline internally on when they should respond to a case filing. So, we make sure that we're not trying to push them to respond any sooner than they need to. But on that, let's say it's the 10th day and they were supposed to respond and they didn't, then we're going to be sending up a follow-up, or, if they close the case, we'll file another case with Amazon.
Is it quite a manual process? I mean, because I know on Amazon, right, they try and automate as much as possible. So in my experience, kind of, as we would say in the UK, computer says no. So is it because, if you try and, I think one of the few things that I like about Amazon is that they make it easy to remove. Well, they have an option for removing seller reviews and product reviews. Whereas something like eBay, you pretty much can't do it. Right, not through eBay. So is it a manual process on Amazon's side, or is it very automated?
So on Amazon's side, I believe they try to automate it as much as possible, but there is a manual component to it. So with what we do, we have, things that we can automate outside of Amazon that we do, like using AI to look at reviews and stuff. But then we manually file. So we use humans or people to file. Like, we don't do any automation there because you can't do that with Amazon. Amazon, I believe, automates a good percentage of it. Where they're trying to, make assessments from the case filings that you're filing. That's why when you file a case with Amazon, you need to make sure you're using the right formatting, using certain terminology. There's a lot of stuff that we learn through that whole process that if we go through that first step, and guess what? If Amazon recognizes it and says, hey, somebody used the F word in this review, and they can remove it automatically, sometimes that happens, but I will tell you that most of the time we're filing multiple cases and trying to get in front of customer service or community help or whatever that may be, to be able to get them to remove those reviews. So usually it's not a one time you sent one case in and then the review gets removed. The process is a little nuanced.
Okay. So, I mean, how big a problem is this? I'm just trying to, in terms of, what percentage of reviews would have issues?
Yeah, great question. So at the end of the day, it can be a huge problem, because if you're a seller on Amazon, the review system is the core of Amazon, right? I mean, at the end of the day, like we all, as a consumer, I can promise you that anybody that listens to this, next time you go to Amazon, think about where your eyes go. And the first place you go is the reviews. It just
Yeah.
is. That's you go and you look and they have terrible reviews. You're not even going to read the description of the product. There's no reason to move forward. So at the end of the day, there's people that have bad products and that get bad reviews. And that's also part of the process. You can't be mad at getting bad reviews. I mean, there's some constructive criticism. There's some good information in reviews when you get them, even if they're bad, to improve products, right? I mean, the first
Yeah.
product that anybody created is going to be very different than the product they have today. So, I'm not here to remove reviews that are valid, right? That have that have a stance and that you should read and be able to, improve your product because of their suggestions. What we're looking at is really a lot of like fraudulent reviews, people when you're attacked by competitors. That's another thing that we look at. So the main things are things that are against Amazon's guidelines. As I said, cussing, mentioning competitors, pricing, hate speech, mentioning the owner, putting in an address, like, putting in links, those are types of things. But then also, we also look at fraudulent buyers accounts, we call sock puppet accounts. So those are accounts where maybe a competitor or somebody owns a buyer's account and they're buying your products and giving you a 1-star review. And a lot of the times this will happen before Prime Day or Christmas, or, we've baked into monitoring program so that now that, we can monitor
How would
those.
you, if it's not proprietary, right? How do you see those? Because I can obviously see the, cuss words, all those, the Amazon rules, but those things like, as you say, these fake accounts. Presumably they have bought a product. Or they bought a product, or they just left a review, or how do you find those, and how would you deal with them?
Yeah, so usually what we do, there's a few different ways that we look at things. So we look at review velocities. We look about, how often they're getting reviews. So if there's a company that was getting, let's say 1 star a day, just for for the purposes of this to explain. Let's say they're getting 1 a day, and then guess what? They started getting 10 a day for 5
Right,
days in a
okay.
row, right? Right. And it's not like they had 10 times the sales. So we'd go, okay, that would flag it in our system. We'd go, hey, there's something to take a look at here. When I say there's something to take a look at, we actually have our humans. We train our filers on how to look at these cases or how to look at these reviews and how to file cases and figure out if there's some issues. What happens is when we flag it, we look at the review velocity, but there's other things we also look at is if somebody came and bought your product and gave you, a 1-star review and bought your product 5 times and gave you a
Right.
1-star review and the same buyer, then what we do is we take a look at it. Let's say you sell flip-flops, right? And these flip-flops are very similar. And then all of a sudden we go look at that buyer's account and we go look at their competitors and they bought the same sandals that are pretty much the same features, right? Same functionality of how to use slippers or sandals. And guess what? And they just happened to give them 5-star reviews on a product that is very similar to your product and just gave it to them over and over and over. Well, those are the types of things we look at. Also, the terminology. So if they use the exact same terminology when they're giving you the review, this is the worst product in the world with 4 exclamation marks, and then they write it again. That would be obviously a VA that bought your product, shipped it to somebody, whoever, someplace in the world, and just copy and pasted the reviews and put them up there. So there's a number of things that flag things in our system that we go and take a look at. But I will tell you, most of the things that we violate or most of the things that we're filing cases on are going to be violation of Amazon's guidelines. That's
Yeah, because
a
I'm
lot more
guessing it
common.
must be pretty clean cut. Whether you can, if someone uses the F word, then it's pretty obvious. But if it's more of a detective work, I'm guessing,
Going to dig a little
Amazon,
deeper.
my experience with Amazon support people is they answer the question to which they answer the question to which they know the answer, and not the one you actually asked.
We've had some similar experiences. Yeah, it just sometimes the templates that they use, you're like, "Whoop, that's not what I asked," but okay, at least I guess you answered. So for us, we just know that that's going to happen, and we're just going to keep filing
Yeah,
and keep doing things. We just making sure that we're compliant and understanding what they're saying. But at the end of the day, the things that we file with Amazon, we know they're blatantly against Amazon's guidelines. Like, there's no, if they use the F word, nobody's going to look at that and say, well, the F word's not that bad, right? I mean, I think it's okay to
yeah,
use, on occasion. Well, it's not on the platform, right? So if somebody said this is a crappy product, you could have maybe 50% of the people say, oh, crappy is a cuss word. And the other people go, we use it all the time. I don't really mind it being on the platform. So that would be something that your probability of getting it removed would be less because it's not quite as strong. We're really looking at the reviews that are blatant, right? I mean, they said a pricing, it was $29.95, and that's exactly what they bought it for. That's a violation. If they said it was too expensive, well, your idea of expensive and my idea of expensive can be different, right? So
yeah.
those aren't things that we file on necessarily because there's not a smoking gun there. If they said, once again, $29.95, that's clearly against Amazon's guidelines and clearly mentioned this product with that product with the pricing, and that you just can't do that.
Okay. So, what kind of sellers do you typically work with in terms of kind of, I'm guessing they have to have quite high sales for this to make a difference.
Yeah. So, I mean, we really work with any sellers on Amazon. We used to have a minimum of like you'd have to have 500 critical reviews over all of your ASINs. We actually changed that. The reason why we changed that is because there was a lot of people that had less than 500 critical reviews that needed help. We originally started there because we made an assumption if you have 500 critical reviews, you've been on the platform for a long time, you probably know your sales, you're a little more savvy on Amazon. We dropped that down because we wanted to help just really everybody, right? I mean, we wanted people, even if you don't have a lot of critical reviews, the monitoring side of things to make sure you don't get attacked has been, be more proactive than reactive, has been amazing. But I will tell you, our three categories that are our biggest categories are supplements, hands down. Like supplements is nine of our, I mean, we have 600 brands that we work with. Nine of our biggest clients are in the supplement space, and then beauty and then pet. Those are very, especially in the US platform. That's where things can get a little more aggressive. If you sell supplements in like the UK or in Canada, it's not quite as aggressive. And I mean people attacking you when I say aggressive. So, it's a little harder to sell on the US platform because it's a bigger platform, but there's definitely some bad things that happen there where people attack you. And, what happens, the reason why those categories are so big is because these are all products that you're going to use over and over and over, right? If your dog eats dog food, guess what? It's going to probably eat
Hmm.
every day, right? Beauty, you're putting on makeup or doing whatever every day. And then supplements, in theory, if you're working out, you're using those every day. So the lifetime value of those customers are going to be a lot higher, right? If you love a product and use it for 5 years and you buy it and cost you $200 a month, well, guess what? That's a few $1,000s.
Hmm.
So what happens is these companies will recognize this, and if you start coming up on their territory on their creatine or their dog food or whatever that is, they'll see that, and then what they'll do from an ROI perspective, not from an ethical perspective, they'll go and attack you. They'll go buy your products and send it all over the world, and you can Google this. It happens. It's happening quite often. And then great when they do that and they just ship it off to somebody else. Now they're a verified buyer. Now they can write whatever review they want, and they know you'll see it in the reviews. They know the pain points. They'll say, "Oh, my dog tried this dog food and he threw up and I had to take him to the vet." Well, if I own if I have dogs and I want to buy this dog food, well, guess what? I read that. Do I want to take the Pepsi challenge? Do I want to see maybe
Yeah.
if I can buy this dog food, if it'll affect my dog? So that's another thing. We look at reviews that are overly aggressive, like where people are making claims of going to the hospital and, I took this creatine and my leg fell off. I'm being a little facetious, but you see crazy stuff. And so we
Yeah.
look at that and say, okay, that's or making claims that you're a medical professional and you're not. I mean, those are some things that we look at and we say, okay, this is, makes our spider sense tingle. And then we go ahead and try to do a deeper dive into it and see what they've got going on there.
Okay. So, what is the process of getting? I think maybe you touched on this already, but how long does the whole just step me through the process of getting a review removed?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on where we're filing, depends on the category, depends on what the review says. Getting a review removed, this is like a terrible answer, but it's, I always tell people it takes, 24 hours to 24 weeks, which is not a great answer because
Long
it's
to take.
Amazon. Well, I mean, yeah, that's the hard part. It's like when we file cases, we've had reviews removed in the first week where we've seen amazing progress, and we've seen other ones that it's taken longer. I will tell you, if you're a brand with a lot of critical reviews, we obviously can file more cases, right? Because there's obviously more stuff to file on, and there's more stuff to evaluate. If you're a customer that come on with us and you only have 10 critical reviews, there's only so much we can file on, right? Because not every single one of the critical reviews that you have are going to violate Amazon's guidelines, right? So we're not going to file on everything. We only file on the stuff that clearly have issues. So if you only have 10 critical reviews, which is a good thing, that is a good thing not to have a lot of critical reviews. But if you don't, there's only so much we can file on. And Amazon, we might have to file 2, 3, 4, 5 cases after they've shut a case down and didn't do anything. And we've got to file another case there. So, the process, like I said, we've seen within days and we've seen it take a month, 2 months, just depends on how many reviews, categories, and that type of
Is
stuff.
there a time limit to how long how much time you have to place a review request?
No. So in other words, we can go back to even when the ASIN was created. So if the ASIN was created 5 years ago, or the product was created. So when I say ASIN, that's just the like a
Yeah,
SKU,
Amazon's got
what
one.
Amazon uses. Yeah. So yeah, in that situation, we can go back to when the ASIN was created, and that's one of our kind of our superpowers. Other companies can't do anything like that. I mean, we can go all the way back to that. We can also get Vine reviews. We can file cases on Vine reviews as well. So just because they're not exempt from using the F word and all this other stuff. So we also can help sellers remove Vine reviews as well.
Okay. So, I mean, do you make any use of AI in your work?
Absolutely. Yeah. We started using AI almost about 2.5 years ago. The goal for us was, and this was before Chat GPT and all the fun stuff, Gemini and all the other fun stuff that's out there right now. What we were looking at is we knew that we could use AI. We thought we could for simpler tasks. And what I mean by that is not necessarily sales and everything like that. But what we were looking at is what can we do? We had people, filers that would take a look at reviews every single day and they would evaluate them. Well, the thing is, you can only look at so many reviews before you start to go blind, your eyes start to bleed, right? So we would have filers and stuff that we would only have them on 4 hour shifts. And we finally realized, like, this is just, there's got to be a better way to do this. And so what we did is we created AI. And what we've done is, like, it's LLM, like a machine learning type situation where what we've done is we've looked at reviews and now we know we run everything through an AI. So in other words, now because we have 600 brands that we work with, or over 600, we're going through thousands and thousands of reviews, and especially with our monitoring system. Now what it does, it goes through our AI and it'll just tell us whether it's in violation of Amazon's guidelines or not. And if it is not against Amazon's guidelines, like if it's compliant, we don't touch it. We just move it aside. We're only focusing on things that violate Amazon's guidelines. So the AI just helped us disseminate that. So it'll pull out cuss words, it'll pull out dollar signs, it'll pull out specific numbers. We even have databases of competitors, so we can see if they mention their competitors. It's only gotten better and better over time. So we've been really impressed with that, and that really streamlines stuff for us because I'd have to have tons of employees working 4 hour shifts, and then you have this thing called human error that can also happen with AI. We've trained it, and now it's gotten so good. It's very impressive, actually.
Okay, it is amazing. So,
Yeah.
what kind of so you get these reviews removed. What kind of performance boost do you see, and how in what areas do you see the performance boost?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like when reviews affect everything on Amazon. I mean, it affects your PPC costs. It affects, obviously, your reputation. It affects so many different things where you end up. So we have a thing called the BSR, which is a bestseller ranking. If you start getting bad reviews, that will knock you off your pedestal wherever you're at. It can knock you out of the buy box. Obviously, if you get from a 4.3 to a 4.2, you lose that half a star. So now there's only 4 stars instead of 4.5 stars, which the psychology behind that is we have clients that have lost 10 to 50% of their sales when they came to us because of that drop from a 4.3 to 4.2. So, really what we take a look at is the categories. Every category is different. I mean, in regards to success, how many reviews they have, how many reviews that get removed. We have an amazing calculator. It's actually a free calculator called the Amazon Review Checker. In fact, we'll put it in the show notes as well. But they can go in and actually check they can put in an ASIN themselves, and we'll send them a report on the most recent 5 to 10 reviews that they could actually file on their own. So we like to make it so that hopefully sellers can do this on their own. I mean, obviously we're a service and we know what we're doing, but if they want to do that, we provide this free tool as well where they can go in and try to do it themselves. And I always hope they have results, have good results. Because at the end of the day, I mean, it cuts into our business, but my thing is to help sellers. So they can go and file on their own and make it happen. So that Amazon Review Checker is a good place to start because, once again, they can go and take a look at what's wrong and they can go and file. They don't have any success. We'll always be here to help.
Excellent. So, I mean, what do you see in terms of because I know that reviews do, broadly speaking, two things. One, conversion rate of the listings, and secondly, the performance of in the natural search. Can you just give me some examples of how that's been, how you've helped in those areas?
Yeah, I mean, we have, like, on our website, there's a few different types of clients that come to us, right? So one is maybe a client that just wants to clean up their listings because they want to sell the brand, so they want to get their sales up as high as possible. We have other ones that just drop, once again, from maybe a 4.8 to a 4.7, 4.3 to a 4.2, 4.0 to 3.9. These are all things where they go, shoot, I'm losing sales. What do I need to do? Some of them go and try to get positive reviews, which is always recommended, right? Always, have some kind of a system or a strategy there. But at the end of the day, when we remove a 1 star, the numbers, I've heard different things, but that's anywhere close to 10 to 25 stars. So at the end of the day, that's a huge, huge impact. It's weighed very differently, right? So we look at that and we say, hey, absolutely get more 4s and 5 stars, but you definitely want to take a look at these 1, 2s, and 3s because that's going to be the analogy I always use is like working out. Like if you just eat good and you don't work out, or if you just work out and don't eat good, you just did triathlon, about that, right? So, right. So, I mean, that's the thing is like, you've got to like do both, right? And especially as us older gentlemen, that happens. We got to be able to do both to be able to lose the weight. Back in the day, I used to be able to just run after a night of drinking and pizza and I was fine. Now it's like, man, I got to really put in some effort. The struggle's real out there.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. You're not wrong there. So, do you find that it's that the clients come to you and if you got is there kind of preemptive work that people can do about reviews with their reviews? What are the things that they should be doing before they get their house in order before they come to you guys to
Yeah, I
prevent
mean,
it from happening?
my first thing would be go try to do it on your own. Like, there's no reason to hire us if you can knock it out on your own. We have that Amazon review checker that, like I said, we have that link. They can go and try that and go file some cases and see how you're doing there. What you don't want, I mean, my recommendation would be this, is that when you're filing those cases, you give Amazon the appropriate amount of time to respond. And then when they don't, you're going to follow up on that and you're just going to keep doing that. You just got to have to ask yourself, how much time do you have to do this, right? Because once again, it's not just click report and file a case and the review gets removed. Like, you do have to stay on top of it. So you're running everything else in your business. It becomes very difficult to be able to do that. And so our goal is to take away the headache of the review thing and filing cases and all that. And obviously we're performance driven, which means they only pay for reviews that actually get removed. So there's really no risk.
Is that how you charge then? You charge per review
Mm-hmm.
removed, or what's the...
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So our model in the beginning was we used to do a retainer. This is right when we started. We didn't do that anymore because it was like, well, let's just do performance driven. And so obviously sellers were like, wait, so first they didn't think we could do it. So, right. And then we're saying, well, how about this? If you only pay for reviews that get removed, so there's no risk. And they said, all right, let's do it. Well, guess what? We started removing reviews and they said, hey, this is awesome. So that's probably one of the best decisions we made early on, was making it performance driven, because we were the first ones to be able to remove reviews on the Amazon space. Like, we paved the way. And so people were skeptical because, nobody wants to get messed up. They don't want anything to happen to their listing on Amazon. And Amazon is very strict, right? So we had to make sure that we were ultra compliant and things were going good. And now we've gotten to a point, because we've removed over 14,000 reviews. And like I said, we work with 600 plus brands. We work with some huge brands. So it's been pretty awesome.
Okay. So anyway, look, thanks very much. It's been very interesting hearing about your work. It's one of those things I didn't even realize people did this. But now it just seems like everyone should do it.
Well, and that's my recommendation. I always tell people, like I said, try to be more proactive than reactive, because reactive means, oh crap, we're losing sales every day, and so that puts another level of pressure. What I tell people is, hey, we're doing this interview in August. Somebody starts now. Guess what? You'll be ready and primed, and we'll be able to get some reviews removed by Christmas time, right? Yeah. So that's what you really want to look at, is you want to prepare, and then the monitoring makes it so that you'll be covered moving forward. So there's really no reason not to move forward. And I might be a little biased as the owner, but I'm telling you, at the end of the day, it'd be nice to protect your listings and not have to worry about that.
Yeah. So anyway, I like to ask people a fluffy question at the end of my interview. What has inspired you recently? Have you got any good recommendations for us?
So I do. So just recently, so my fluffy story was, I just turned 50. So, and this happened. I think it's the lighting.
You got hair under the hat?
A little bit, not a lot. I got a little bit more. Let's go. Oh yeah.
See, we're be proud. Yeah, be proud, cool man.
No, I'm going to have to be. Yeah, there's really no other option for me. So, but yeah, turning 50, I think, was a really pivotal point for me. Just having with friends and family over on the weekend, and that was a fluffy moment for me. Just seeing all of my friends and all my family, but at least seeing everybody in one place and celebrating and kind of hanging out and telling good stories and having some fun. So that was kind of an aha moment. I remember thinking as a kid, people that were turning 50, I was like, oh, they're going to die soon. Yeah. Like in my mind, I just was like, and 40, I was like, ooh, that kind of sucks. And now 50, I was like, oh, we're not going to see them anymore. We're going to have to give them longer hugs and hold hands and tell them you love them more. Like, I felt like, honestly, but now I'm 50, I'm like, I'm a little slower, I'm not running marathons, but I'm like, I feel like I still got it. So I don't know. That was a little bit of a reality check, but a good thing. It was awesome seeing everybody. And that was my fluffy moment, is, just seeing friends and family. Yeah. It was awesome. Yeah.
So where can people find you online and your company?
Yeah. So there's two different places. You can go to tracefuse.ai, and that's TRACEFUSE.ai. And then I also have my main website, shanebarker.com. That's ShaneBarker.com. And then you guys can reach out to me at any time at Shane. That's just Shane@tracefuse.ai. That's my direct email. And as I said, you guys can always we have the Amazon review checker. Please check that out. Go try to file on your own. Try to get some of those reviews removed. If you can't do it, once again, we're always going to be here to help.
Excellent. Shane, it's been great talking to you. Thanks very much. Good luck for the future.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Trevor. Appreciate you, man.
Bye-bye.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.